You'd think you'd just be able to, talk and not have to have all this stuff. But I guess you do.
Hey, if you could just talk and have a podcast, everybody would be doing it.
Well,
Colleen Bertino.
Well, there is that. It's just two of us here today, and we're like, okay, which one? Too loud. I don't know who sits here in the chair before me, but they are deaf.
We're Goldilocking the headphone levels and the mics and everything else. It's just Kelly Guest and Colleen Bertino today for Great Northern Sex Cast. Hey, everybody.
Morning, Kelly.
Yeah.
And the Pupsters. Pupsters here.
Oh, yeah. The Foo is here with us. Fred really enjoys coming in here. Okay, how would you describe this building we're in, Colleen?
It's ancient. We're in the basement. There's the most amazing outdoor facade with like this onion dome and these two little towers.
And it's patinaed.
And patina, because it's probably over 120 years old at this point. And, one of the cooperative there's cooperative businesses here in big open spaces. And I mean, the interior is great. I'm just hoping, I'd love to see what their plans are for the exterior, because you can tell that's next.
Yeah. We walk down these completely not to code steep stairs.
Oh, yeah.
And there's an octopus painted on the concrete floor, which is fabulous.
Wonder Bread wrappers in the wallpapers, bathroom.
In the one bathroom, yeah. And then you walk through all of these areas. There's all these cubby holes where various forms of creatives are out there doing different things. And one guy, did you see the one guy in the side room? Had this ginormous, like at least as big as the sound thing.
It's a huge screen.
Board.
I'm sort of jealous.
Well, no, but the one guy that's working on the board with what looks like 8 million sticky notes. Did you see him?
Oh, no, I missed that.
Oh, yeah. I have no idea what he's doing, but walked by him. But right before you come into the little hidey hole that is the Alive and Social Network studio, there's this couch that's got some sort of an animal pelt on it. What is that thing?
I know. I'm thinking it's a coyote or a wolf. I mean, it's obviously ancient. It's not new. You can tell that.
Well, Fred always has to stop and just like go into sensory overload when we walk by. He's like,
well, yeah, I bought getting ready for winter, a few little decor around the house, and I won't be decorating, putting trees up this year because I have cats that will destroy them. But I bought fluffy pillows, and I wasn't really pillow covers. I mean, because everybody has enough pillows, you just get bored with the covers, so you drool on them when you're napping.
Right.
So I bought these sheepskin cheap ones at IKEA. I put them on the pillows. And my one cat just started attacking them. It was like, lick. And I'm like, oh, this may have been a bad idea.
Oh.
But I got bored within moments. But I'm just like, the cat's really happy. Yeah. Did I just buy the world's
catnip in there?
Yeah. Did I just buy the world's largest cat toy?
Very possible. Oh, God, your cats are so cute. The pictures keep them coming. So this is kind of funny. You and I had a text conversation on Sunday night. And it was so funny because, and I understand this too, because my boyfriend owns a retail store too. And if it's a one-man shop or one employee shop, like both of ours
Not that I don't have a zillion cameras and stuff, but yeah, there's generally one clerk on. Yeah.
One clerk, right? Yes, of course. We do too. But if they have to go to the bathroom, they got to stick a sign in the door. So a past guest, Brian, the realtor that was on a couple weeks ago, was going to make a purchase. First time ever going there.
Yeah.
And the guy was gone. So I was texting you saying, hey, whatever. And it got both Brian and me thinking, because when you texted me back and said that the store hours, they were open until 8, and this is probably around 6 or something, I'm guessing. 8 o'clock on a Sunday night, is that a busy time for fantasy gifts?
We have found that I extended hours to 11 on Monday through Saturday and till 8 on Sundays. And it has been spectacular, because if you want something, and I don't care whether it's a cheeseburger or whether it's a bottle of lube or something like that, if you know the store is closing in half an hour, you don't go. Because you don't want to feel rushed or this or that. I haven't made a lot of sales later, like towards 11 or at like, let's say 7:30, 7:45. But what I have done is made a crap ton of more sales, like on Sundays between 5:30 and 7:15.
No kidding.
When before that I've extended that and it also gives the clerks a little bit more time to get the store straightened up and see what's missing and stuff like that. And the same thing with the evenings. Because, for God's sake, some Targets are open to midnight now. So you get some of your other shopping done, and then you swing by, and you just don't feel rushed. Okay. And so my sales from 9:45 or 9:30 to 10:30 are, it just increased. And it's been, because folks don't feel rushed.
Really? So
And, and it was, a little tough for some of the employees that had to, adjust habits because, they got more money, but it was also extra hours. They were out later and it didn't work for some. And then other folks, they were like, woo, more hours. But it's a much more relaxing time that, the clerks are spending a lot less time going, 10 minutes till we close, folks, because you don't want to do that, but you have to do that.
Yeah.
They have to get out, clean. They've got stuff to do, get home.
Home is good.
Yeah. And so, no, it has been, it's been about 18 months now, 2 years. It's been a good experiment.
Oh, cool. Well, just to give you a parallel, for example, my boyfriend's store is a liquor store. So the law says 10 o'clock is the last sale.
Yeah.
Period. End of discussion for off sale in Minneapolis. So we, don't alienate our people because they know it's not us. It's just like, that's it. I cannot ring this past, whatever. But yeah, it was just, it kind of got me thinking. And what really cracked me up that I didn't respond to, because during the time that this whole thing is going on, and here's my friend, I'm the one side, I need my lube. And I'm like, wow, Sunday dinner at my sister's. I'll be right back.
Yeah.
So I'm going, and he was so funny. He's like, I've got friends in perverted places. I can call and get, help, whatever you were laughing. But you cracked me up when you said that, oh, well, it got me out of helping with AP US history. That was my favorite class in high school, was AP US history.
No, I never took it there. I'm not even sure that there were AP classes, and I certainly probably wouldn't have qualified for them with my grade.
Like a year apart.
I know, but I just don't remember. But then again, I was a moron in high school, so that might have something to do with it. But everyone at my daughter's school takes it. And they had like just 18 pages of small print, and it was, and it took me, it took them like an hour and a half to read it because, it's new information to them, and it's sort of describing how they're going in. It was frustrating because I'm like, okay, I get this, but I have to think about how to describe it to 15-year-olds that have never read this before, and so like, okay, so I have to like, okay, how? It was a lot of thinking on my part. I'm an American Studies major. I enjoy this stuff, but having to come up with a rote vocabulary was like, I needed the text conversation was a needed break.
Yeah. What's funny? Now that you bring that up, and we're not going to dwell on this the whole hour by any means, but now when they're breaking ground in high school on, U.S. history, which obviously European relations are going to factor into that somewhat. These kids just saw Brexit happen, and now they're reading about how, and they're like, well, wait a minute. England was in charge of you know what I mean? That must be really weird for these kids.
Yeah. And they're, with their faces in computers, they're not picking up the newspaper and reading it, so they're not paying attention. And so I had to explain, I said, you guys are going to have to learn a bunch of stuff to take a test, but just know that about half of it's missing. Half the information's not there. And they leave out a lot of stuff from women. They leave a lot of stuff out from, people of color and stuff like that. And, sometimes they just get shit wrong, and they've been saying it for 200 years or 500 years. And so they, people believe that. Learn it for the test. You have questions, ask me. I'll get you in the right direction.
Awesome.
I'm not going to make them go insane by insisting that they learn stuff that will just fill up their brains because they have a lot going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, on another note, I threw some stuff in here because this is today, September 13th, is my sister's 41st wedding anniversary. And I was 8 when she got married. And it was, so I know her husband.
Did you get to be a flower girl?
Oh, of course.
Okay.
And, oh my God, it was so 1975. The whole deal was like, oh my God, the tuxes with the ruffles and the big.
Oh, what color?
Pudgy. They were kind of a putty brown, and the dresses were peach.
Remember, oh my God.
Oh God. Oh yeah. If you really want to laugh, I'll bring in a picture or even let Megan post one.
No, I can, my,
the 70s.
My measure, I was alive in the 70s.
It was an ugly decade.
Yeah. Good thing I was very young and there was no digital cameras really. There are very few pictures.
Yeah. And they didn't even have the little throwaway cameras back then, but I digress. No, but, my sister and her husband, they've raised 3 fantastic, sons that are, the youngest one's like 33. But they always had the horn dog reputation in the entire family. In fact, they got pulled over in a pretty significant ticket, getting photographed, while my sister was giving him a blowjob on a bridge in San Francisco.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. they got caught. It was kind of hard to say they didn't do it, right? So that was a distracted driving, and God knows what other kind of. I mean, these guys are notorious in the family. So I've just been moving back into my little house in Hastings in the last week, and it's right across town. And I was running out on Saturday I was going to work, and I needed a favor. I couldn't get the cap off to put a quart of oil in my car. I just could not, my hamstring. So I stopped by, it's like 10 o'clock, to have my brother-in-law just dislodge it for me. And I knocked on the door, and front door. I stuck my head, and I said, "Hey, knock, knock, it's Kelly." And then there's this silence, and I went, "Oh, shit." And then I hear, "Just a minute." And I'm like,
There's
"Oh,
a tone.
my God."
There is such a tone to that just a minute, isn't there?
Oh, God. They're 65 and 69. Okay?
Good for them.
And I'm like, never mind. Nope, we're coming out. Oh, my God. And my sister comes around the corner, and she sticks her head in, and she goes, "You're a bigger buzzkill than Mom was." Because my mom was famous for stopping by and sexist interruptus for them. And I'm like, oh my God. And I'm like, I wish I could unknow this. Like, seriously, right now, I wish I could. But
yeah, I mean, that folks do it, but it is amazing. I mean, if you walk in, let's say your roommates in college or this or that, you laugh it off. But there's something about family members, brothers, sisters, or this or that, where you just like, that's
disturbing.
'Cause you just, maybe because you're too close to those folks. You know what I mean? It shouldn't be, but it is.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so I did that. So Kelly will be calling forever and ever and ever. I don't know what I was thinking. I was thinking that I needed a damn quart of oil and I wanted some help. Selfish me. So lots of funny stuff in the news today. A lot of really... Colleen, some really interesting discussion topics. News comes in clusters. Things seem to happen in certain areas of the world. This week, we're going to center ourselves in Italy and the UK for a lot of the stories. But no naked Floridans. Okay. But the first thing, once again, it was the Philadelphia naked bike ride over the weekend.
I heard about it. I saw a headline, but I've been having the worst internet at my house right now.
Oh,
really? It is so effing slow. So pretty much I see a headline, I poke at my, hit click, or I poke at my phone, and then it just spins, and I'm like, oh, fuck. So I've got to do something about this. But I don't, you just want it to magically get what you pay for. But it doesn't work that way.
Colleen, that's so demanding. My God.
So I saw some interesting. I went because I was looking at the list here. I'm like, oh, I saw some of the headlines, but I didn't. So I'm like, okay. What's it going to be? Oh, puppy! I almost got kicked that.
Fred's fine. He likes to lick your feet. He's got a foot fetish. Well, it was they had over 3,000 people at the 8th annual Philly Naked Bike Ride, and that's part of the whole World Naked Bike Ride thing. And this is such a cool thing. Well, the pictures from this one are more fun than some of the others that I've seen because they had body paint artists showing up, and they showed a lot of people getting painted, and there was some really cool, art, body art. But it's about accepting body image, accepting nudity, stuff like that. And it was kind of fun. So the pictures you will have up for you.
I think I'm not a very good bike rider. I mean, I always feel unsteady. I always have. I don't know why. So I'm just not sure I would want to be. I would be afraid of the road rash I would get, or messing up my body paint.
Well, yeah.
But I think but I probably would participate. I think I could. We could promote biking and the fact that the body is not obscene.
Well, and
these are two things that make me happy.
I'm not a fan of 10-speed seats. I just don't think that those are good for anybody's tender parts. Oh, I like the big, And
the big seat. Yeah, I've got a big seat too, and it's all. I don't want to sit more upright, and I have no idea how some people that bike with me don't just tip over because we're going so slow.
Or get a recumbent bike.
I know. I actually those scare me because they're too low.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I spent a lot of time being short in my life and not being seen. Putting myself down at tire level does not seem safe to me whatsoever.
Point taken. Staying in Pennsylvania for a minute, Penn State has something pretty interesting coming up. They've got a program there on democracy, citizenship, and constitutionalism. And their theme for the 2016-17 school year is Citizenship on the Edge, Sex, Gender, Race. And so this is a study line there at Penn State, which is a quite well-renowned, college.
Okay, so this is a series of courses they can take in this for this year?
Yeah,
okay.
As part of the program on democracy, citizenship, and constitutionalism. And this year they're all about digging into all of the transgender stuff, and then they're adding a layer of if you are trans, GLBTQ, and then you are a person of color on top of it, and then they're looking in, to the strange political year as well. So it should be a pretty interesting. We might hear a lot more news out of this year.
I think so, because there's been a lot of stuff going on, because a lot of laws that are out there, and there are plenty of books on this subject and all that, are pretty much used. They use the guise of morality, but what they end up being is used against women, used against people of color, used against. I mean, pretty much a heterosexual couple did not get busted for anal sex, but other people would. Right. That's what they'll. I mean, a lot of the laws are. I mean, whatever they are ended up. And when they're passed, they sound good. But they're really used against the other ones. The drug laws are the same way. They sound good in theory, and then you put them in practice, and generally it's used against. I mean, women get a lot longer sentences for protecting a partner, or a person of color gets a lot longer sentence for having a dime bag on him than someone else, and it's supposed to be color and gender blind. And so I think. I think what they're going to have a class here on we already know that. But then again, sometimes things you think are wrong. So I suppose when people say, "Oh God, everybody knows that," well, maybe you don't. If you can finally back it up. I mean, some people just because they think it's true are gonna, that's what's going on. Yeah. But more. I can't fault more information in this case. That sounds great.
No, and they're going to have different guest speakers every month, and the celebrity and or speech invitees that universities have can really get a lot of publicity, and academia can really advance things. And so it could be very interesting coming out of a place like Penn State. So I saw that and I'm like, oh, this will be a great year. And again, they did say, look, we're taking into consideration the insanity level of this year's election. So yeah, I was kind of excited about it. I'm curious to see what's going to follow, because they just got into it this year. So they're just getting rolling. So in the coming months, we'll see what they've come up with. I found this hilarious. Have you ever been to Italy yet?
Yes, I have. It was quite a number of years ago.
Was it fabulous?
It was fabulous.
Okay.
Florence and Rome, and I was hoping to go to looking into going to Sicily because that's where my family's from, but it could not figure like 22 hours of flight and close to $1,800 in airfare, and I just went. Maybe not now. There's just so many other places I want to go that I can cram that in. I'm like, yeah, but it's on the list.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Well, check this out. The Supreme Court in Italy has ruled that public masturbation is no longer a crime.
In Italy?
Yes.
I can see this like in Sweden or something, but Italy?
Well, they pinch butts and they chase women. I mean, on the streets. You know that. But get this, it was the only stipulation is not in the presence of minors. But this was the result of a case of a 69-year-old man convicted in May of last year of performing the act in front of students at the University of Catania. And he was sentenced to 3 months in jail and fined about $3,600 American dollars. They took it all the way to the Supreme Court. And so they ruled this act is no longer regarded as a crime by the law. And we need to save our prison cells from people who commit obscene acts in front of women. That's just not a law. That's not what we want to fill our prisons with. So that just happened. What do you think?
I can understand the not filling a prison with someone who's just, jerking off. That sort of, rationale. Yeah. But I'm not sure that, I'm talking about that if someone's masturbating in public, the public doesn't get a choice on whether or not they get to watch that person masturbate. So
there's lack of consent.
There's lack of consent. So I have a little, some people may not care. is going through there, but it's not. But I don't think it should be obscene. But it just, I'm not sure that.
Well, let me add another wrinkle.
Okay.
You know the big public service announcement campaign here in the States, Cover Your Cough? They need one that says cover your jizz, because I definitely don't want somebody to spoo on me.
Maybe if you had like
it's disgusting
blanket or something, then again, it's not abnormal to masturbate. But I just, the whole bodily fluid thing, you just want to, you just think that
that's gross.
Because if you're out in public, you're out there doing it, there is a consent issue there, and you got to look at both ways. I mean, I could see, don't make it a prison offense, but I'm not, but you might want to say, no, you don't get to.
Yeah.
And now, mind you, if you wanted to have like a masturbation park, like a dog park, you could go there,
Yes. And in a hazmat suit maybe, but go.
Yeah. I mean,
I
think, same thing. There's some parks here that, different things.
What are they called in Amsterdam? The parks where people go shoot up? What are those called? You know what I'm talking about. But
I don't,
there's a name for it and I can't think of it, but same thing. Maybe they could just do that and keep everything.
That would be just fine. You know where you're going. That's fine. You don't care, fine. You do care, stay away.
I just don't want to get any wayward spoo. And if I'm just minding my own business in public, I really don't want to have to worry about spoo flying at me.
There's enough other people spit enough and do other stuff like that. I'm not particularly interested in having to deal with another bodily fluid.
Me neither. Okay, so we agree. Staying in the realm of the subject of Italy, anyway, collaboration between scientists in the San Diego School of Medicine and Sapienza University in Rome spent the last 6 months puzzling over the question. There's this one Italian village, and I would butcher it if I tried to say it, but I'll say Acchiaroli. Why do they live so long? More than 10% of the people there live for over a century. And very few of them suffer from heart disease and dementia that we are seeing proliferate here in the United States. So they wanted to take a close look at this. And all they've uncovered right now, and the results are not yet official, but they're starting to release findings that, we're going to see later. They're saying the Mediterranean diet, they all seem to have an affinity. They use a lot of rosemary, fresh rosemary. So they're thinking that, that's an herb, could have some healing property. But here, wait for it, they have active sex lives. And here's the quote: "Sexual activity among the elderly appears to be rampant." Rampant.
Well, yes.
It's not common, it's rampant.
I think that's spectacular. It does show the bias of the folks here who probably think that people having, over 40 having sex at all is probably weird. So if you're talking about folks in their 80s, 90s, and maybe over 100 having sex, the fact that they have to use the word rampant.
I think that's hilarious.
See, look. I mean, this works out well for your sister. Long life. You're going to resolve it. I'm like, and I'm planning on it.
Well, yeah. Oh my God.
And I'm like, and then I have half Italian genes. This is all good.
Eat more rosemary.
I love rosemary.
I do too.
Chicken. I've got some chicken at home, and it's air drying in the fridge because I say get crispy skin, and it's got rosemary all over it right now.
Oh, that sounds good. I'm a rosemary fan too. Have you ever had it with like? When you, oh my God, I'll get you some veggie recipes and maybe we'll even have to post them. But rosemary, I've got some really good ones. Okay, so let's move over. We're staying in Europe for a moment. So now we've got these ancient people living, long, healthy lives in this village in Italy that's caught scientific attention. But now let's go over to the UK. And there's a sexual health charity there. It's called the Family Planning Association. So it's kind of like our Planned Parenthood is what I gleaned from that. They did a survey, and they spoke with 2,000 people aged 16 and over. And the conclusion, here's the headline: it's easier for this group of people to have sex than to talk about it.
Of course it is.
Yeah. Well, but the focus of this was because how many 3/4 of the respondents had never been checked for an STD. And they have had a surge in new STD diagnoses in the east of England, which is where this was all conducted. So this group is trying to go in and raise awareness. It's like, hey, people, whatever. And it came like, yeah, we'd rather just fuck. We don't want to talk about fucking. Okay.
I do find it fascinating. And, it leads back to the story, that there's so many STDs. I mean, they just, you talk about them a lot, and then people, you think everyone knows, and then you stop talking about it going through there, or you try and put it on, put it on a commercial and people freak out, or you try and put it in the schools and people freak out, and and then you end up with like chlamydia, and then what the hell are you going to do? It is, and then dealing with some of the stuff is tough in some communities because there's such a distrust of medical stuff. I mean, you think about the study where they let the African American men have like syphilis for like 60 years.
Oh my God.
Didn't tell them I had it. We're just, seeing how the disease would progress.
Oh
and
God.
it's so, so when you go in, you try and talk to some people, we don't believe you, because there's decades of distrust.
Oh man, that's actually chilling right there. But yeah, they're trying to, I think it comes in waves. I mean, this makes me think of AIDS here. I mean, they're having to start to re-educate again because it became such a non-issue that people started forgetting. And it makes me think of a guy, great guy, Doug Melrose. He has been an iconic. He's been in Minneapolis St. Paul magazine as, mover and shaker kind of guys. He's been a fitness instructor at the firm forever. And he's famous. He's like a fitness celebrity. He's just insane. I was a guest helper in one of his classes a few years back when I was quite a bit thinner than I am right at this particular point in time. And he's just amazing. And he left this, and he's still going to teach a little bit, but he just got offered a position with the Minnesota AIDS Project. And he's showing like the pictures of his first week and the first events and everything else. They're tapping how many people know and love him from the work he's been doing to have him come out and help, reignite the education.
Yeah. Just, because it's not a death sentence.
No.
That you can but it's still, there's still no cure.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got medications you can take to preemptively, and you've got medications you can take afterwards. There's all these things, and mind you, that's just here. I mean, it's still a death sentence in a lot of places of the world.
Yeah,
going through there, it's the disparity there once again is huge between the U.S. and it's still bad here. So I can't even imagine what it's like in other places in the world.
Oh, absolutely. And so they're having to double back. Okay. Miss America, was that even on your radar that pageant happened over the weekend?
No, not at all. I saw that someone had won it, and there was a little blurb about the history of it. Like it was started to extend the shore season in Atlantic City eons ago. And as a toddler, I used to bring my little chair up in front, and my mom would let me have dinner, and I'd watch it, when I was like 4. Mm-hmm. But I'm pretty sure past then I haven't really paid too much attention.
Well, I guess she was crowned Sunday night. Mm-hmm. And her name, Miss Arkansas, Savvy Shields. And here's the thing. I didn't just want to note that we have a new Miss America. The debut of the 4th season of Masters of Sex was airing simultaneously. Mm-hmm. And that show, and I'm sure they did this on purpose, was about, the famous, the bra burning Miss America protest back in 1968 when everybody threw their bras into the can. They never actually burned them because whatever, but that's what got the feminists called bra burners. But they were airing that back to back on purpose with Miss America. I thought that was pretty interesting. And I know you have issues. Well, actually it's Liz that really has the issues with the show Masters of Sex. I find it fascinating because I like to hear the story. I'd like to see the story of these people depicted because it happened. Mm-hmm. I'm not a fan of some of the things that went on, but it is what it is. Mm-hmm. And I love that they're pulling the cover. It's the
history. You start one place, then you move on. Then someone might be curious about this, or might be curious about that. And then you find out more of it. And once again, I think it's one of those things where you're like, do you not tell a story because it isn't perfect in today's standards?
Yeah.
Then that's one of the things that happens a lot. It's frustrating sometimes when folks don't get it right. if they blatantly change something, like the Pocahontas story or something, that's But this seems like they're doing it right, even though it doesn't sort of fit today's standards for equal relationships, obviously.
Oh my God. I mean, it's appalling. And that's part of why I think it's kind of great they're telling the story, you know, and the actors, the whole cast is like incredible.
I mean, it's the same thing as Mad Men. I mean, it's a story of, how advertising happened, but how they treated folks that were non-white males was, particularly appalling. Or just the fact that everybody smoked. I remember that from my parents anyway. I think about the fact that my daughter will never understand what it's like to go into a public place and have it be, the only place there isn't smoke is like 18 inches from the ground.
Yeah. Oh my God. I mean,
the haze that was the late 50s, 60s, and 70s and early 80s. Oh my God. Or the idea of smoking on an airplane. Oh my God.
Can you believe that? Can you believe that? Yeah. And you know what cracked me up is I remember because my mom used to make me fly in the smoking section with her. And I hated it. I've never smoked in my entire life. My entire family did. I was the only one who didn't. And so my disdain for smoking is, I come by it honestly. But the fact that they would have a smoking and non-smoking, as if that's possible in a plane.
I know. It is. I can smell if someone in front of me in the car is smoking and in the other car, I can smell it. So, yeah. I just find stuff like that fascinating.
I do too. I just had to throw this in there because every year I find at least one story like this. And when you see a headline of 5 sex positions women's hate, guys, if you're thinking you're going to get lucky, don't try this. But here's the hilarious thing. I'm going to run through these really quick. I don't want to dwell on it. But somebody...
tell me this was like a Cosmo or Men's Health or...
I think it was Glamour, but I just couldn't pass the headline.
Click. Yep.
But there are some on here that I'm not a fan of, but I don't hate all of them. In fact, a couple of them are some of my favorite. And I'm like, okay, but it's just funny to see what they say.
I think they had, maybe that's what the Post-it notes doing. They write stuff down, they throw darts at the shit and said, today we're going to write a story on these 5. Do we like them or hate them? And then throw another dart. Do we hate them? Sorry.
No, that's fine. Colleen, I wish everybody could see Colleen's face right now. She looks like me when I'm having an allergy attack. She's laughing so hard.
Okay.
Number 1.
I'm curious. Let's see what.
Doggy style.
Why would you not like that?
How could you not like that? I love that. I'm like, okay, you guys are all wet. Forget that. And that was a really bad pun, actually, but that happens in here. This one, they claim ladies confessed it didn't feel intimate enough. It's pretty intimate.
Let's see if you're pregnant, overweight, have other issues. It's not. And then if you're not any of those things, it just. No.
I love that one.
What a load of crap.
2, cowgirl. Okay, that's just basically woman on top is what they're referring to by regular cowgirl.
Yeah.
My fave. Yeah. Like, are you kidding me?
Why would hate? Why would that? Okay, that's just lazy women.
Okay, now number 3, I get the reverse cowgirl. That's hard. I mean, that is almost too much work for what you're trying to do. It's like,
you're like, okay, sex or squats. What do you?
Yeah, exactly. I can do squats later.
Yeah.
Thank you. And there's lots of other ways.
But I wouldn't say hate. I mean, it doesn't maybe last as long as some of the other positions.
Well, it's also the most dangerous sex position for a man because you can break.
You can break, the penis. You don't want to turn. You
do not want to hurt the junk. Okay, this one surprised me. Missionary.
Okay, so what sex positions are left here, for God's sakes?
Yeah, I know. Okay, so I know. It's a good point. And it says, bad news for guys with small schlongs. You won't be hitting the right spot. So they're saying use the coital alignment technique, also known as grinding the corn, to boost enjoyment. It's I know. I'm like, that is dangerously close to cornhole in my view. And I'm like, I'm not really sure if I'm okay with this. But it talks about just having the guy go up a little bit higher to get an angle to hit more stuff, which I
think that's what they involved, like pillows and wedges for.
Yeah. The last one, I'm going to give him 69. That's just...
It's too distracting.
It's ridiculous.
Maybe, movies, but I have yet to find anyone, because my friends and I talk, they're like, you cannot enjoy something and no.
Yeah.
It's absurd. And I think what the fun part is that I think everyone probably tries it with you. And at one point they go, this is absurd.
Yeah, that's what I'm like, you know what? This is really, no, seriously? Yeah, no.
And what's really nice is that that you're with like a really good partner where you can both look at each other and go, this is absurd.
Yeah, we're not going to do this.
No.
I'll go, then you go. Okay?
Yeah. We'll just take turns.
I'll go first.
Life will be good and we'll be fine. I mean, no, I mean that I think that was made up. And then people felt that they had, that it became a thing.
Well, because you don't want to say that you don't like. I mean, it's the Emperor's New Clothes thing.
Yeah,
classic. Yeah,
I will give them one. And it's not that you hate it; it's not practical. I mean,
it's not as much fun as being able to fully concentrate on giving or receiving. For me, that's my attitude.
You just if you're going to do something right, you cannot be distracted.
I agree completely. Okay. There's these 5 phobias I've got to bring up because we're kind of suckers for anything weird like this. But because the first one involved sex, I thought I could slide the other 4 in because they're that good. Okay. So the first one, this one girl, and her name's in the article and everything. She can't have sex indoors. And this, she had her first time inside and something happened and she's had some sort of a mental disconnect. She literally cannot have sex inside of 4 walls. Listen to this quote, Colleen. Guys love it at first. They think it's kinky, making love under the stars or in the woods or whatever. But after a while they get annoyed, especially if it's raining, and dump me. Sorry, I'm totally laughing at her pain, but that line just killed me.
I think possibly a good therapist, sex or not, would probably be a good one there to find out why you cannot have sex indoors, because it's fairly limiting, especially if you live in a cold climate. I'm not particularly, Yeah,
you have a little freezation issue with.
If you're in a buggy climate, there are just certain places you don't want bug spray.
Well, there's that.
Which really would interfere with the oral, because if you can oh my God.
Oh God. And then, oh yeah.
I mean, I feel, I think that, yes, we are laughing.
She needs some help.
But
she needs to get hypnotized or something. Let's just run through these other ones because they're funny. This one woman describes her fear of bananas. And it started with when her brothers put one in her bed. She can't even see one or smell one. But then she had a kid, and the kid loves them. She has to put on rubber gloves to even peel a banana to even hand the kid, and she can't watch him eat it. She listens for him to be choking. It's like she cannot deal with bananas. Okay, next one.
That's interesting. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Next one, Sophie Ray. She's a Brit. For 8 straight years, she's eaten nothing but pizza, and they are just cheese and tomato pizzas. She has selective eating disorder, a phobia of almost all foods, terrified to try anything new. Have you ever heard of that one?
Yeah, there was I'm going to cough your minute. There was one gal that like ate chicken nuggets and only, ended up being severely malnourished and all this sort of stuff. That definitely. And that would be probably someone for like the Emily, eating disorders program or something.
Yeah, no, it's real. Have you ever heard of nomophobia?
No.
This is fear of leaving your smartphone. And young people, those between 18 and 24, tended to be the most addicted. 77% unable to stay apart for more than a few minutes. 25 to 34 followed at 68%. And the study showed that on average, people check their phones 34 times a day, and 75% of us use the phone in the bathroom, which nobody will ever admit to doing.
Oh, it's 100%, and that's all there is to it.
I know.
Sort of like people who don't pee in the shower. I'm sorry.
What is that? What is that? Yeah.
I mean, oh, come on, people. Mind you, someone's in the shower with you. And listen, I'm not.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's an etiquette thing.
Etiquette thing, but for God's sakes. No, the few times, I'm not in those age ranges, but I don't like not having my phone because it has become fairly indispensable, within a decade here.
Yeah.
Even faster than that. And it's very frustrating because you rearranged your life for it. I mean, is someone free? I mean, when you can check in on your kids, you can check in on your parents, you can you realize that you've forgotten something, you can find out right away. I mean, the pace of life got faster. I don't know if it's good or bad, but I'm saying is, I mean, the pluses to me outweigh the minuses, and we'll work our way through it just like we did every technology. Going through there, but I don't like not having mine. I have to admit. I don't have a phobia about it, and I can, in fact, go places where there's crappy Wi-Fi, and I'm fine with that. But I do go check, but there will be times when I said, okay, I'm going to check now that, I've driven someplace, I can have a signal when we were on the road trip, trying to make phone and stuff like that. Yeah. Like, hey, if phone has a signal, pull over.
Call and check in.
So I could check for, make hotel reservations and stuff like that. It's been, great that way versus, driving into a city and driving around to point A to point B and trying to figure out, do you have room? Do you have room? Do you have room? You just call while you're on the road. Well, no, the passenger now while I'm driving.
Well, I have to tell you, my brother-in-law still has a flip phone. He's the one who's 69 and his anniversary is today. We were sitting at the kitchen table and we weren't finding the NFL scores that we wanted, that were on in the background. So I just went to my phone and said, did the Vikings win today? And I love that. And it'll tell you right out loud, boop, 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 boop.
Oh, yeah. The amount of times I'm like, well, let's find out. I mean, let's find out. It's very entertaining. One of the biggest things we end up doing is like, go to see a movie or we're, she goes, how old is this person? And how old is this person?
Oh, yeah.
How are they?
Isn't that great?
I don't know why I am so fascinated sometimes with like, how old is it? Like when I went to go see Jeff, we went to go Jeff Beck. How old is he now? Oh my freaking God. Is he flailing on this thing? It was a spectacular piece of music.
Oh yeah.
I mean, the whole concert.
Well, and like, I had a friend once say, how did we ever have a conversation without Google? Like seriously.
Well, it is awfully nice when someone says something asinine now where you can go, oh, let me check. Let me check. You may have read something wrong. I'm usually fairly diplomatic about it. There are certain people that say, I don't think so, but also and there've been times when I'm more than like, oh, I got that wrong. I'm like, fine. I go, wait a minute, that doesn't sound. Like I'll hear stuff coming out of my mouth. I go, oh, that does not sound right.
I need to fact check myself.
Yeah. I'm like that. I think I said that wrong.
That's funny. Last thing on the phobias, chromatophobia, fear of color. Chromatophobia.
That would so not be me. There's like 19 colors in my house.
Oh, listen to this. They're actually broken into factions. So the fear of the color white, leucophobia. Black is called melanophobia. Fear of purple. Oh boy, this one's porphyrophobia.
Oh, I certainly don't have that. My house is purple.
Yellow. Fear of yellow is xanthophobia, and fear of red is erythrophobia. Fear of green, chlorophobia, and fear of blue is cyanophobia. Who knew? You learn some educational shit every week on this show.
Okay, that would be a little weird.
Isn't that something?
I like colors so much that the idea of, to be afraid of it. I bet that's difficult for foods. Think about it. Most of the brightly colored foods are really good for you. Maybe the person who only eats pizza is afraid of the color green.
Yeah. It's hard to say. Hard to say. But yeah, I just thought that was pretty interesting because, like I said, it started out with a chick that can't have sex indoors. Quick couple notes because the one I really want to wrap up, and I know we're going to take the rest of our time with this story. Pamela Anderson came out and with this, she did a piece in the Wall Street Journal in collaboration with a rabbi. And it was lashing out at porn in the wake of the recent Anthony Weiner scandal of him looking at pictures of him doing selfies with his toddler there looking at porn, whatever. And so she opined that porn is for losers. Now, maybe she doesn't look at it, but she has one of the most famous sex tapes to have ever been leaked. And I got a copy of it sent to me by my friend who titled it on the VCR tape. So this is how many years ago. It said Tripod the Movie. Because it's like, that is one skinny dude and he's all dick. Holy mother of God.
Oh yeah, it was a good seller for us. We sold a lot of it.
Oh yeah.
And you put it in and we're like, okay, I guess that's what people are talking about. I'm a little jaded when it comes to watching other people having sex on tape, but it's going through there. But it's not. Yeah, it's not for losers. It's a thing that people like. sometimes you can like it too much, just like anything else.
Well, for sure. And this was in the Wall Street Journal published this. But I mean, I'm sorry, but for somebody who made her living for so many years, and I know she's a nice person. I know that she funded this child gymnast, her gym career, because it's expensive to do that. She donated money. She's an animal activist. She's, I know she seems like a nice person. She truly does. But, she made her living off of being a sexual being with her boobs and her bod and her big lips and everything else. So to come out and start porn shaming people, I think is a little hypocritical.
It definitely is. I mean, she may have been on the not so pleasant end of it. So maybe she's, feeling a little backlash. Going through there, I think a lot of the women who were making money off of their images now have a lot more control over it than she did.
Yeah.
So that might have something to do with it. I mean, it's the same thing. Kardashians have, made an entire empire off of a sex video. I mean, yeah. I don't fault their business acumen. I mean, I think that how they get it is a little appalling, but I cannot fault the fact that
if they can sell it, they can
sell it and people are buying it. I don't, it's appalling that's what they're, the product I think is appalling, but it belongs there. I mean, personally, I think most fast food's appalling, but I'm not going to say you can't sell it.
Yeah.
Yeah, the business. But I do find it fascinating. So I mean, I would see that if they were to come out and say that porn is bad, same thing. They'd be quite hypocritical.
I agree. So going along with this, I have in our outline, Colleen saw this epic GNS failed.
Okay,
Epic,
what did we miss?
We missed Free Porn Day on September 8th. Now, in our defense, our last show was the 6th, and it is now the 13th. So we are reporting on it. But in honor of...
I did see that. I'm like, I was reading an article and doing a couple of things on it, and you're trying to figure out whether, if you can entice people to your sites with something free, will they pay for it? I think we've learned the answer is no in general. I mean, people do not like paying for... I mean, I'll flip through sites, and I'll stop when I hit a paywall. For the most part. So I'm like, oh, what are they doing? What are they doing? What are they doing?
I know, right? Well, they came out with a couple of really interesting stats about porn that I thought that we would run through really quick. Almost 1/4 of Pornhub's users are women. And, that's more than what a lot of people assume. Everybody assumes it's far more like, a tiny sliver of women, and it's 1/4. So more than a lot of people thought.
No, plenty of women are, can be visually stimulated. Just because we're told we're not supposed to be doesn't mean we aren't.
Yeah. Well, according to the Journal of Sex Research, porn viewers are more into gender equality. And their findings in a very small nutshell are that they tend to have more liberal, progressive attitudes overall. And so gender equality is in line with that. And they're trying to tie the correlation. I thought that was interesting. This one kind of shocked me. Women tend to prefer gay and lesbian porn. The most frequently viewed categories by women on Pornhub were lesbian and gay men. What do you think of that?
Well, we do sell an awful lot of all-female porn to women that are because I think they're, you don't have to worry about. I mean, it's a much more. If you're talking about the gender equality, there's a lot more equality in the sexual experience in that, whereas the majority of male-female porn is still from the heterosexual male point of view.
Yeah. Yeah,
going through there, and they're probably just curious, like what guys do, because then they can just look at good-looking guys, and so they're so voyeuristic.
Okay.
And you're not distracted by, hey, what are her boobs doing or this or that. So I can see that.
That's interesting.
No, because I'll flip through. I've seen a fair amount of it. Also, fair amount of naked guys in male porn and stuff like that. So I'll look and go, well. He really works his legs out. I mean, I have to admit, I'm looking at the penis, but there's the whole body there too.
Oh, and yeah.
So you can, it's nice.
So I thought this was interesting. The 3 nations that had the longest viewing times for women of porn, number 1, the Philippines. The average Philippine female porn viewer spent 14 minutes, 20 seconds. The average American female porn viewer, 11 minutes, 51. And the Ukraine 6 minutes 45. So there's a big gap between 2 and 3 there.
How in the world are women even finding time to spend that much time to themselves?
Good question.
I don't know, unless you're saying it takes longer for Philippine and American women to get off if they're watching porns and masturbating at the same time.
Yeah.
Maybe other folks are just like, okay, let's get this over with. Much more efficient in their porn watching.
Porn ebbs and flows with the holidays. Pornhub viewership dips on most holidays like Thanksgiving and then back up by 7%. And just wondering if you noticed that in the stores, if you have any kind of
definitely. Yeah, there's we're closed on Thanksgiving and Easter and other times when other stores are opening up because you're with your family. You do not go shopping for a dildo on a school holiday. If your kids are with you, or if your kids aren't with you, then your parents are with you because it's a holiday or this or that. Any holiday that has a truly family emphasis, it goes down. I mean, there just isn't any, and then like the holidays like Labor Day and 4th of July, stuff like that, we're just open daytime hours. It gives the clerks that work it get holiday pay time and a half, but I never bother being in the evenings because you've got fireworks, you're getting ready for school or work the next day, you're traveling, it's going through there. But if it's a crappy weather day and you don't have to be with family in those 3 days, sometimes you are, but you don't have to be. I can do sales, but I could be open on Thanksgiving like some of the other stores, but I wouldn't.
It's just not worth it.
It's just not worth it.
Yeah.
And besides, I'd have very few days where I don't have to think about what's going on at the stores. So, everybody needs a day off.
Absolutely. No, as always, we never get through everything that we have. And there's the stuff that I have can definitely hold the next week. But fun conversation about, who's looking at porn and whatever. And I have commentary in here and I gave Megan the links so you'll be able to see it. It'll pop up on the Great Northern Sex Cast page. Really, guys, if you're on Facebook and you check out the Great Northern Sex Cast page, whether or not you choose to follow us or even like us, usually everything that we talk about on the show will show up in the week leading up to the next show. You can actually read all this for yourself. You can see the pictures of the things that we've been talking about.
Oh yeah, we don't bombard you like with everything on one day. So
no.
It's going through there to show up in that week though. But it is, pretty much everything pops up between, the two shows.
Yeah, and so you'll get to read a lot of this for yourself. But there is a sex advisor that's quoted in the Pamela Anderson article actually, who talks about, and I've heard more people comment on this. This is becoming a thing, Colleen. They're saying, no, porn is not addictive. That is not the same as other addictions. And they're starting to explain not to lump it into that category with cigarettes immediately, that it can be used and it doesn't have to cross over. And anyway, there's a lot of debunking out there with regard to porn addiction and behavior. Basically, a lot of people that are saying porn is getting blamed for stuff it shouldn't be.
Oh, probably because it's easy. It's sex. It's something that it's hard to get someone to be positive about. I mean, you might be and you think you're going to be able to say, no, what you're saying is wrong or stuff like that. But it's really hard to confront, stuff that might be correct, but is not the most popular. And so certainly anything that has to do with sex is in there.
Absolutely. Well, I think we should wrap it up there because a lot of this stuff is like half-hour conversations. And we'll get into some trans issues next week. I found some really, really great information on that. And we communicate regularly and have had members of the trans community on the show. And so if you are one and would like to join us and put your voice to it, we'd love to have you. And Colleen, anything else? Do we have a newsletter coming out anytime soon? Well,
at the beginning of next month.
Okay.
Because we've got the other ones coming out. We've got Wicked Lube and Synergy Toys are in the stores. We get a brand new line of rechargeable silicone toys, and I'm blanking on the names. Nataloni or whatever, just gorgeous toys. And
really?
One of them has sort of a touch thing to it. Another one has a little e-stim to it. So those are out in the e-stim stuff is just in 3 stores. And let's see, Burnsville, Fridley, and Coon Rapids. But they're just gorgeous,
really?
Going through there.
And what are they called again?
Natalone, Nalone. And there's a display in the stores and everybody has samples. And I was really, really excited by them. And it was just, it's really nice. This stuff that Tara had seen in July and finally came in and we got it out. And there's another line from Blush that we're going to be getting out into the store soon that are just a very, I mean, the silicone is, I mean, it's just, you touch it and you go, ooh. Fondling the toys. It's a little weird, but you just want it. It feels good and they're weighted well. They're not too light. They're not too heavy. One of the lines, it has a nice bend in it. So if you've got like an arthritic, we're looking at a couple different things, in the future. People are designing more toys for folks that might have disability issues like, arthritis and stuff like that.
Carpal and stuff.
So we're looking at lines that do that because this one line has, once you turn it on, if you don't want the button or this, and you fumble or you drop it, it's not like bouncing all over the place. There's a ring, sort of like a touch lamp.
Oh.
And so it works that way. There's the metal ring around the controls is a touch thing. So as you're holding it, it's working. If you take your hands away, it's not. So you're not wasting charge or anything like that. We're like, well, that's different. And it was really nice.
That is super
So I was
cool.
really excited about that. We're just trying to, keep things, there we go. I got my voice back.
You're good.
That's the the news thing in the store, and we're excited about that. We have if you want to sign up for the newsletter, you can go to the My Fantasy Gifts or the Minnesota Fantasy Gifts homepage. We got the because when you go to fantasygifts.com, you get to choose Minnesota or New Jersey.
Yep.
I share, and so that became more mobile friendly. Something changed in Google land, and so the websites were all mobile friendly, but the jump page wasn't.
Oh,
so
geez.
that's been taken care of, and that's all. And you can get to our web, order the stuff, and soon. Oh my God! If folks have been frustrated in the stores looking for something online, next month by the end of October, all of my stores will have a full internet connection versus the hotspots that I'm using, and so you'll be able to search for things on the store's computers a lot faster. And I know that my staff is going to be a lot happier. But it finally got inexpensive enough
to do it.
I know the same thing with finally changing over the next 18 months. We're going to change all LED fixtures.
Oh, okay.
So and it saved me money and not fade merchandise and help the planet. All good things.
Can't disagree with that.
Basic. I could talk about the vibrator, but I'm also working on stuff like making the stores a little bit more efficient and helping you out, just the nuts and bolts of a business running.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Well, check out Fantasy Gifts and the Great Northern Sex Cast page on Facebook. And Colleen and I, and who knows who else will be in here again next week. And we'll tackle some of this other stuff because, there's just never too much. We could never get through all the sex on the show.
There's always enough sex.
Have a great week, everybody.
Yep. Bye-bye.